So let's get started. So today we are going to actually talk about email integration. Okay. So you all have been using email in your office, right? And you might have noticed that your office must be using Microsoft email services or Google, right? Or there might be other vendors or inbuilt as well. So basically the concept here is that if you want to send out an email, you need to have an email service, right? Email service. Usually corporations go with the Microsoft. Microsoft is most commonly used. Google is also used, and some vendor go for third-party email provider as well. Doesn't matter which provider is there for your organization for the implementation. You need to have access to that email service in order to send email from Pega. Why do we need to send email from Pega? For various reasons. In a normal case processing system, if someone is submitting a case, we often send them an acknowledgement that okay, thank you very much for submitting this case, this has been received, and we will process and send you update accordingly, right? That is one use case. Something gets approved, we need to send an email to the right stakeholder that okay, yeah, your case has been approved, right? Sometime you need to send rejections email, sometime you need to send other communication from your case processing. So, of course, there are several ways to contact the customer or the stakeholders, right? Email being the most commonly one. Email is the most common. There are SMS, there are other things as well. For the SMS, you need a different type of providers. SMS configuration, SMS connect, configuration is needed or server is needed. But email is something that is free, available free of cost for almost everyone, right? You can always go ahead and create a Gmail account. You all must be having one such email, right? Or Microsoft Outlook, Hotmail, Yahoo. There are several such. Pega has the capability to integrate with these services by using your email ID and password, and then you can use those that detail that your account within the Pega to send out an email. Okay. So for that, we have something called email account in Pega. All right. So in the email account, we got to configure our connection details. Okay. Connection detail plus credentials. All right. So this is the first step. And then you can use that email account to send out the email from the case. There is out of the box shapes available. There are several activities available basically related to the email that we leverage to send out email. But that's something that we will learn later. Let's just first try to create an integration. So you can click create integration service and service. Sorry, this is service, not something that we need. Integration resource email account. Okay. It will basically give you an UI from where you can configure the email settings or credentials. That's one way. The same thing, basically, you can also view from the configure menu, integration, email accounts. Okay. So right now we are going to basically look at all the pre-configured email accounts. Okay. Those might not be working. It comes out of the box, right? We have a personal edition. It comes out of the box. See. So by default, if you try to send out an email, this one is what picked up. That this is the one that gets picked up. And you see, this has basically bogus email ID and the connection is status is failed. So let's just modify the existing one. Okay, you can create on the similar line. I'll show you both. So I'm just going to have the existing one modified first. For that, you need to have an email account, right? With uh, with any of those vendor. All right. So this is the ID default, right? This is the account name as well. You got to select the provider. So these are out of the box. I mean, you can have custom. With that, you can connect to any email provider, but this is what Pega identifies as the most commonly used email providers, and that's what, right? So there is Apache, James, there's Gmail, there's Lotus, right? Microsoft 4 versions actually. All right. And then we have Yahoo Mail. All right. So these are out of the box. The ones that we are going to, so I have created an account on Outlook.com. So I'm going to leverage this one, Microsoft Outlook.com. So it will, okay, so you need to configure two things. The sender detail, right? To send out an email, you need to configure the sender email account. And for the receiver too, we often use the same account, right? Receiver is used for the email listener. So we have the ability to listen, monitor an email box from Pega and accordingly take an action. That we will cover later. Right? So SMTP and is basically our protocol, right? So you see, it has, I mean, based on the type, it has pre-populated the connection, SMTP host, the port. This is well defined. Okay, Microsoft has published that this is what we need to get. Then you need to configure your email ID. So mine is okay. What is going to be the display name when someone receives the email? What's going to be the right? So we will say Pega Auto emails, not subject. This is going to be the display name when someone sends an email. So you when you receive an email, you see a name and email ID, right? So this is the name. Then the user ID that we need to use to log into the email service provider. Okay, so this is going to be the same as your email ID. The password. The user ID is what you use to log in. You do not necessarily need to have your email ID as a user ID. Some in the Google as well, you can use just first part to log in as well, right? Not necessarily at the rate gmail.com, right? So this could be different or this could be as same as email, okay? This is the password. If someone replies, what is going to be the, so when you open an email and you click reply, so on the email account itself, on the client itself where you are reading that email, it automatically populates who you want to reply to, right? On the client side, any email, right? So this is the setting. This is passed during when the email is sent to the users. The reply to email ID is passed. When they click on the reply to, this is what going to be populated there. Okay, so it is going to be the same email ID. We want them, if they are replying, we want them to be replying on the same email ID. Okay. Some connections or some server needs some sort of trust store that we will discuss here, but later maybe. This is advanced topic. But for this Microsoft Outlook, we don't have to worry about that. Okay. Message signing key store or alias. This is not relevant. This is the basic setup. Okay, so we will leave it. Receiver, POP or IMAP. We usually use IMAP. It actually populates all the details. So if you are using the same username and password, just say use senders username and password, right? Secure connection, usually we use SSL, right? No need to specify any trust store. So with that, just click submit. So Pega is going to refresh, try to attempt a connection. We give us the status. Submit. Will remain default. Yeah, because we updated the existing one, so this is going to remain same. I will just create a new one as well to show you guys. But first, let's see what's the status of this update. All right, so this is success. That means now this email account is available. Similarly, you can create your own. Basically, just provide. So sometimes you might be using different email account for different communication type, right? So in that case you can have multiple connection with different details or same details. I mean, if it is same detail, you do not necessarily need to have multiple email accounts set up. But if it is different, you could have multiple, and you have the setting and options basically when you send out the email to select which account you want to use to send out the email. Okay, so this is I'm just going to create a test email account. This is the name as well, test email account. Okay, same everything. Rest of the things are exactly same. Okay, nothing. I mean, it's just that these two fields. SMTP use the same email ID. This time I'm going to take a new account. Just right. User ID is going to be the same. Reply to is going to be the same. Receiver I'm using I am AP. That's it. So the first part, the email account configuration is done. Now this is success as well. See, okay. This is this is set up. Now Pega can communicate to your email service provider. Okay. So how do we send email? This is the second part. So we will learn the basics here, only the basics. So we have a special step in the flow called send email. You can leverage that. So for sending out an email, you need an account, email account that is already set up here. We just set it up, right? Then you need something called correspondence rule, which is of course of different type. Okay, there are email, there are SMS. I mean, there are different template, but for us, it is going to be email, right? And of course, subject and all those stuff we will need. So I'll show you both how to create a correspondence rule. That's the new rule type for you. Okay, and how do we configure the correspondence rule on the case designer itself? That will you just have to type the correspondence and it will automatically create a correspondence rule from the backend. Okay, so let's try to use it. This is set up. Now we will open our case type, leave adjustments, case type. So we have the email ID of the user, right? Of every candidate. We will leverage that. So after the leave adjustment, let me open this process. So after the leave adjustment process is submitted or assignment is submitted, we are going to send out an email confirming that okay, there is a leave adjustment on that has been submitted on your behalf. Okay, so um, automation, you have something called send email, right? So let's connect this one here. Let's see. So we will name it as send acknowledgement email. Okay, send acknowledgement. uh, where do you want to fetch your email address? All right, so you can hard code, you can refer to a field. We do have it in the database. Sorry, we do not have it in the field. So at the moment I'm going to hard code it. Okay, so I'm going to send to the same user because all right, so this is one, and you can specify the subject. You can select a correspondence rule. Okay, right, or you can just cust choose custom and compose the email here. Okay, so first we will just try with the compose one. All right, so subject will be leave adjustment request has been submitted. All right, and compose. So if you want to use dynamic property, usually we say dear, right? So you can click here. This is called insert property, and choose which property you want to insert, right? So since our details, our employee details are on the data page, so I will not going to refer to a property for dear first name or last name, but we do have the leave adjustment and leave type on the as a property, right? So we can leverage that. So I'm just going to type in plain text that your leave adjustment request. Now, usually we identify any request with a request ID. In Pega, we often take case ID as a request ID, right? So I'm going to basically append dynamically the case ID. Okay, so click on this and case ID. So see, if you want to append any property dynamically in the email correspondence, just less than, double less than, property, then double greater than. Okay, request has been submitted for leaf type. Again, leaf type is something that we have in the property, right? So let me just dot leaf type. Okay, with adjustment value. Again, leave adjustment, right? Actually, if you have your property marked as a relevant, it will come here. Search. So it's not there. Let me just open the leave adjustment part. Leave adjustment property. Mark it relevant. Okay. So this is leave adjustment. Just mark it relevant, then it will come in the drop down. Okay. Mark as relevant. Same with the leave type as well. Mark as relevant. Now let's go back there. And let me see if it is coming now. See, leave adjustment. Okay. Similarly, I mean, you can type in as well if it is not coming. That's okay. The marking a record relevant only makes it accessible in the dropdown and all that. The processing wise, it's okay. Right. So submit this. Now, this will internally create a correspondence rule. Okay. I'll show you that as well. All right. So with this, um, I think we are ready to go. I have hard coded email address, so that's fine. Submit, save. Now let's test it. For that, I will have to open Outlook just to see the received email. Okay, so at the moment nothing is there. Let's create a case, leave adjustment. All right, so as soon as I click on create, right, this will move to send acknowledgement email, right? All right, so this is routed to one more thing. Every email that you send by default gets attached to your case as well. Okay, so if you click on the attachment here, you can see here, you can click to open this to read the email basically. So see, your leave adjustment request, this, right, this is dynamically populated, has been submitted for the leave type vacation with adjustment value 3. right? And this is from this account, right? But this is raw data. Let's just check in the account, in the email account itself, if we received that. So see, so Pega auto email. You remember the display name setting, right? So this is the setting that I was talking about. And of course, if you look at if you click on reply, see whatever you provided in the reply to, that gets populated automatically. Okay. All right. There's one more thing about it. So because we use the same account to send the email, right? So it will be there in the sent item too. Okay. Because Pega is behaving like a client there. Okay. Email client like Microsoft Outlook and all that. This is what Pega is behaving like. Actual email is being processed by your service provider, your email account, right? So sent and received all is going to be there because we use the same email for sending out the email and we use the same email account to receive that. So we have both here. You can send it to anyone. All right. Any question? ऐसे ही आती है. Right. So this is something that we send the email with hard coded value. All right. There's one more thing. You can pick the value from the operator. So let's say that we want to send it to the submitter. Okay, whoever is submitting that email. So if I open, because I was going to create the case and I'm going to create the case. So if I update my email address on my operator ID, okay. So let's say that same email. Actually, we are going to use the same email for the testing purpose. Right. So I can refer the operators detail directly there. So let me show you. So this is the shape, and here I will say use operator. You can have you could use any property right here. So field, okay. So operator ID dot py email one. I think that's the field. Let's just verify that. So if you look at system pages, operator ID. So anyway, okay, hold on. Let's just do one thing. Let me store it in a simple field. Okay. So when we are loading the data here in the leave adjustment, create flow action, and then play action. We're not running anything, right? Okay, no problem. So let's put the email ID onto a post processing, onto a field. Okay, so then we can leverage that directly. So set, I'm going to create um, property to hold the email. Should have been email, but text is okay. Let's just mark it relevant. And this is going to be taken from the data page through which we are getting the details. Okay, so that we can get that's okay, that data page is not created yet. We are so we are using that data page here. Let's just take it from the this is right new this, and there's a parameter employee ID, and that's going to be dot employee ID dot, we have an email, right? Email field there, email ID in that data. Yeah, that's one. So now we will take it dynamically. All right, let's create it. Let's update the employee data to make sure that we have a right email ID there. Okay. All right. Now if you go back there in the configuration of send email, we can leverage the email address from field that is email ID, right? So it will read dynamically. So that's how you can dynamically read the email ID and send it. Let's create another case. Leave adjustment. So this time too, it actually identifies it reads the email ID from the variable, that property, and it sent us the email with the right detail about the case. Okay. All right. So that's one thing. Basically, where we created a custom correspondence, which of course internally has converted that into a correspondence rule. Now let's do that with creating a proper correspondence ourselves. Okay, so let's say that once the approval is granted, we want to send that your this leave adjustment has been approved, right? Correct. So let's do that. We're going to add one more send email after the approval has been given. Okay, and this time we will also use the same field, email ID, and this time instead of custom we will use a correspondence. So approval email, let's create this correspondence. Correspondence type is email, right? So this gives you more flexibility in terms of styling and everything than the custom one, right? So this is where you can embed HTML, right? Or I mean, there are multiple options you can explore one by one, right? You can convert the things in the HTML source as well, modify there if you wish. So I'm going to use the same text. So your leave adjustment request, and then insert a property. You can insert another correspondence rule or paragraph here as well, okay, by inserting a rule. But here we just need the property. So that is going to be PYID, right? Request has been approved. That's it. Save. Let's come back. Adjustment has been approved. Okay, this is there now. So see, send acknowledgement. We actually used as a custom, right? But that was converted into a correspondence rule. If you just want to have a look at that, here it is. See, this is what we typed in there, right? Anyway, we will use approval, save, and let's create one more case. Let's create it from the user portal. The first email should have already been sent, right? As an acknowledgement. Now let's approve it. Right, this has been approved. You see the second. No, the first one is the second. This is your leave adjustment request has been approved, right? The same can be seen in the email as well. See, has been submitted. The other one must be coming very soon. All right. So this is how we do email integration, and I mean, this is how we actually integrate Pega with an email server to send out an email. First step is to create the email account, and the second, of course, you need to send an email. There are activities available as well that we leverage to send email from basically from background processing or from other stuff. But the simple implementation would be to use send email shape that is available out of the box. For that, you need an email account, of course, that we did in step one, and then you need a correspondence rule, email type correspondence rule to send that out. All right. So let's just have it created in our machines. Thank you.